I'm Mark. I work in the Meraki side of Cisco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Faye, and I work on the security side.
And this talk is about how we have a brand new platform that was launched this week called Cisco Plus Secure Connect Now that brings together the simplicity and power of Meraki in networking together with the power of Umbrella.
Security.
Yeah, sorry. Security. So there's our little dance. So if you're familiar with Umbrella's SIG product, Secure Internet Gateway, or the DNS product, we have DNS security, a cloud-delivered firewall, SWG, secure web gateway, a CASB service, all cloud-delivered in Umbrella. What we've added is this global interconnect layer. So instead of traffic coming in through an IPsec tunnel, performing security services, and then going off to the internet, and that's it. Now you can come into one of the many POPs around the world and interconnect to other POPs. So you can have site-to-site, user-to-site, and ZTNA, clientless to site, some of the use cases that we'll be going through here. So this is what we support out of the box now. An AnyConnect client VPNing into one of the global data centers that make up run around the world. This clientless mode is our ZTNA offering. It is effectively a proxy running in the cloud where we attract traffic with a URL that is exposed to a public IP address. We perform authentication, posture checking, and then route the traffic to a private application that's either in the cloud or in a site connected by Meraki SD-WAN. We also can onboard Meraki sites very easily using that legendary simple auto VPN connectivity. We can set up IPsec tunnels, and of course we have connectivity to the internet. Okay.
All right, so we're going to move on to the demo. So the first demo that I'm going to be showing you, my demos today actually are focused on how we connect to the cloud. Okay, so the first one I'm going to be showing you is how we go ahead and connect our sites to the cloud, enabling the users in those sites to be able to communicate from site to site as well as out to the internet, all of course subject to the security policies that are in place. So going ahead and starting with that, I'm looking at my sites. And what I have here are my cloud hubs. And so in the interest of time, I've gone ahead and deployed my cloud hubs. So basically what I'm doing here, I've got two hubs here, one for my Europe region, one for my US region, okay? And so now what I want to ideally do is connect my different sites to these hub locations that are, in these both of these regions. These are deployed in HA pairs, as you can see here. And if I wanted to go ahead and bring on a new hub, all I need to do is click here, select from the hubs that we have in different regions. Right now we're offering just the East Coast as well as EMEA. Once I've done that, in the background, those hub locations are automatically provisioned. They're spun up. The next thing that I can do is go ahead and, as you can see here, I've got my list down here of my Meraki branch locations. I've got some branch locations in the US, and I've got some branch locations in Europe. I can go ahead and simply click and say these two branch locations, I know that they're US based. Let me go ahead and assign them to the hub that's located in the US region. Likewise, I can do the same for my two branches in Europe. Review what I've done here. I've mapped my Europe branches to the cloud hubs in Europe. Actually, let me go back here. I do want to highlight one thing here. Like I said, those hubs are deployed in pairs. I can go ahead for HA, so I can go ahead and select which one of these pairs of the pair I want to do act as a primary and which one is the secondary. All right. Go ahead, review my configuration. And now what that's doing in the background there is auto connecting all of those branch locations via auto VPN directly to the cloud. And now that those sites are connected, it's as easy as that.
So let me go back and clarify real quick, because I had to look it up to make sure I wasn't out of my mind.
Okay.
So Cisco Plus is the networking is part of the networking as a service new offering that Cisco introduced last year.
Yep.
This is the security as a service component of Cisco Plus, along with 5G as a service that it was announced, and who knows, switching as a service, routing as whatever is coming down the line. This is, according to what I'm reading right now on your website, this is the security as a service component of Cisco Plus.
So
That's what the internet.
yeah,
told.
that's what the internet told you.
SASE as a service.
It's SASE
It's
as a
SASE as a service.
Because
Okay.
security is a much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not named, but yeah, SASE as a service.
right.
Okay.
It takes what was launched, the network as a service, combines it with this and turns it into Secure Connect.
Got it.
Okay.
Because I mean, eventually it's going to be everything as a service, as we all know.
Exactly.
Eventually.
This is the beginning.
This is
Well, actually, the beginning was this last one.
was last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay.
But this is really the beginning of the unified SASE platform.
Yeah. So you don't have, yes, got it. So I just want to clarify, because I created a whole bunch of confusion there for a minute. But this is all part of the grand scheme to move into Cisco Plus and offer everything Cisco does as a service. No one said that, but writing's on the wall of where that's going. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and so now that these sites are onboarded right here, you can just quickly go ahead and see here this tab here and get a quick breakdown of the status of those sites. And you can go ahead and click here to go ahead and drill in if you want to look at any site in particular. All right, so that covers the demonstration of how we're going to connect our sites to the cloud. The next thing, as Mark talked about, we've got both client-based as well as clientless connections. So I'm going to talk about the client-based, which is the ability for the user to use their VPN client, AnyConnect, of course, to establish a connection directly to the cloud. Now, in the interest of time, I've got the service already enabled, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's deployed. Okay, so here, what we're looking at here now, just like we've got regional availability for the branch locations as well. We are doing the same thing for our AnyConnect users or our remote users, right? So we have two regions. We offer the service in two regions, North America and in Europe. Each region has 4 hub locations. All right, and what we have here, this is what we call our magic FQDN. And basically what the user would do in their AnyConnect VPN client, this is the FQDN that they're going to connect to, right? So they connect to that FQDN, and based on Anycast DNS, right? What that does is DNS that allows any DNS resolvers to respond to the request, and then that user is going to be directed to the nearest hub location to establish their tunnel connection, right? So as you can see here, if the user would like to connect to a specific location, they can go ahead and use the location-specific FQDN. Otherwise, more than likely, most of the users are going to use the magic FQDN, and they'll be redirected to the closest data center.
So one thing I want to point out here, and it's a bit to your point before, Faye started out in the Meraki dashboard where there's this new functionality, new tab called Secure Connect. That's where she onboarded all the Meraki sites, right? Then clicked on users and we swiveled over to the Cisco Umbrella site. Now, both of these are cloud managed, cloud delivered platforms. And when we do that, we make sure that you don't have to relog in. We want you to not notice, okay? And we leave a breadcrumb behind. Return to Secure Connect. So it'll put you right back where you were,
Gotcha.
okay?
So
Now, yep.
I do have a question real quick about that magic FQDN right there.
Sure.
Is that provisioned per customer tenant, or is that something for everyone?
It's provisioned per customer tenant.
Per
Yeah.
per tenant, so, and what is the likelihood of that ever changing? I mean, does it change? Does it ever modify, or once it goes here on the dashboard, it's permanent?
Once it goes on here on the dashboard, that is your unique ID for your tenant.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is generated. We've talked about the ability to have like, user defined, like your company name .ciscoplus.com, but we need to build out the infrastructure to deal with collisions and so on and so forth. So for now, we generate that and it's that forever.
So moving on. So this is the client-based connection. All right. Now I'm going to focus on clientless. So the clientless, connection is allowing the end user without a client. So they're going to use a browser actually, and they're going to fire up their browser and they're going to be able to access that private application directly. We're going to proxy that connection for them. Right. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to move towards first defining what is that application, that secured application. Okay. So right now I've got this defined here. Right. I want it for browser-based access. Here's the IP address of it. This application can be accessed over HTTP. I don't have an SNI configured. This is the automatically generated. We do all the certs. We do the FQDN for you, right? This is the URL that's automatically generated on your behalf, right? So all the user would need to do is to enter this URL in their browser, and they would be able to access the application. So I've got the application defined right now. Before we allow access to that application, we need to go ahead and secure that connection. So what I'm going to do is move to first, we allow posture checking, right? So I'm going to create a profile here of what it is that I want to check. I can go ahead and check the OS of the user. I'm going to be using my Mac client here, so I'm going to choose Mac OS. Latest. Which browsers are allowed? I'm going to say Chrome here. The latest version. Now we also give a grace period to allow the user to have some time to remediate themselves before we knock them off. And we can also check for location. Now I want to be very specific. I'm going to say US, let's say. Let me just review what I typed here. Great. So now I've gone ahead and created that posture profile. So my endpoint, when they connect, they're going to have to be in a Mac. They're going to need to be using the latest version of Chrome, and the user has to be in the US. Now you can see here, applied to, I don't have any policies set. That's true. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Go to my policy for my browser-based access.
And she just flipped back over to Meraki.
Yeah, I noticed that. It went from Umbrella right back to Meraki.
Yeah, because this is a brand new page, right? Some of the stuff she was showing before already existed Umbrella, so we didn't rewrite it. But this is all brand new, and we will tend to, for the new stuff, for Secure Connect, build it in the Meraki platform, okay? And it's calling APIs over to Umbrella, transparently behind the scenes.
Right, giving you that seamless experience. Right, so here's my new rule that I want to create. I can then go ahead and check my users. I can either do it based on group or specific user. I'm going to pick on Ima here. What application is she allowed to reach? That would be the app that I just showed you, that medical portal. And then I'm going to use the posture profile that I just created. Go ahead and save. And now access. Now this is complete. So what I should be able to do here, I'm going to bring up my incognito window. That FQDN that I said that we automatically generated for you, I've got it saved here as a bookmark because I can't type. All right, I'm going to log in as my user. Now, what I'm using here for authentication as well as MFA, I happen to use Duo, right? So I got to do my MFA, did my MFA.
If you didn't see it, she got the notification on her watch and she tapped her Apple Watch.
Yes.
Kind of cool. I'm a huge fan of Duo. So love that.
And there you go. My user has access to that private application, right? And so the posture profile that I had created, I specified Chrome. So if I were to go
How does it
ahead,
do the detection of all that then?
yeah.
Now, how does it do it?
How does it do it?
Yeah. How do you determine the browser and the OS?
User agent string.
I'll use it.
Simple user agent. Yeah.
So easily manipulated and easily sent.
It's an honest person's compliance check, if you will, right? If you need that, hard posture checking, you need the client. You would install AnyConnect.
Logs aren't made to keep honest, to keep criminals out.
Yeah.
They're to keep honest people out.
Okay, Duo MFA. That's complete. And what I was doing there while we were talking, I was logging in my user, and this time I'm using Firefox, so I'm blocked from that application. Okay.
And the employee goes, "Oh, I'm not allowed to use Firefox. I guess I should use Chrome."
Boo.
Boom.
They're not allowed to use Chrome.
Or whatever she had. Safari.
IE, that's all you get in.
All you get is IE.
Because that's what works with our intranet. Not in a few days, you don't.
IE6.
And now the log.
And now the logs,
Right.
right, of all that
Everything.
activity that I had, right?
Back in Umbrella.
Yep, back in Umbrella for the
Umbrella,
logs,
right,
because that's
yeah.
where the reporting is.
Yep.
It's where
So-
the proxy is running in the Umbrella cloud, and we haven't sucked that all over into the Meraki cloud. We might not.
So you can see I've got allowed and blocked, right? Blocked must have used Firefox right here. And then the allowed, of course, I was using Chrome as my policy is defined.
Just to make kind of absolutely sure. So the Meraki side of this is basically just pulling data from Umbrella. So all the configs exist in Umbrella. Meraki's just showing it. So if I went into Umbrella directly, maybe that's a starting question. Can I just log into Umbrella directly? And then from there, if I made a change, refreshed Meraki, that would pull and see it there. But I could still go in and work in Umbrella kind of the way that I had previously.
Yeah, if it's a feature that was previously an Umbrella, we're not disabling the UI, it's all there.
Right.
And it is, there's not two instances of it. And well, in cases that there are, we'll sync them.
There are certain other scenarios where some of the underlying ability to access things disappears when it gets pulled into a different product. So having that, you still can do everything. You're not, even though it doesn't have feature parity in the dashboard, you're not losing it. You still have access to everything.
You still can go and, existing Umbrella capabilities are still there. Now, as we build new capabilities, it may be on one side or the other. That browser access page, where the policy page, is only in the Meraki side, even if some of the functionality is in the Umbrella side, right? So
Okay.
it's
So there are some areas where it's not one-to-one.
right, because it's when we build we'll continue to build new features in Secure Connect but when it's basically remote controlling an existing capability in Umbrella, we'll do that with APIs. And yeah, sure, if you log into Umbrella, you could find it.
But they're basically two separate product teams, so you guys could be building one feature and they could.
We work very closely. the dashboard team reports into me and we have people sitting in the stand-ups of the people in Umbrella that are developing the APIs for our dashboard. We operate as a single agile team.
Exactly.
Believe it or not.
And you're witnessing, that, right? Because of all those cross launches there, just me focused on trying to do the configuration, right? I could do everything I needed. And as you saw, some of it's here in the Meraki dashboard, some of it's in Umbrella, but I didn't lose any functionality in terms of what I need to do and what I needed to accomplish, right?
And it said SecureX at the bottom. So SecureX is orchestrating that, or is I saw on the bottom of the
No, we're not going through SecureX for that orchestration. Now SecureX, I don't know why SecureX was on the bottom.
Yeah,
I mean,
thought it
in
was like,
general,
oh.
SecureX is part of Umbrella, but and there's nothing stopping you from using SecureX. But the integrations we have are very, very deep between the two, and it's direct API calls and yeah.
I said pretty cool.
To ask us of every SASE offering, do you have a sense of the potential latency that can be introduced by running traffic through cloud security services if I want to flip on every possible security capability?
It's certainly something that we're watching, and we have Thousand Eyes probes on all of our Umbrella sites and so on and so forth, right? We have a global footprint of our own data centers that Umbrella has, as well as for some services we use public cloud, and we're definitely keeping an eye on that. I don't have numbers to quote off the top of my head, but yeah, with any kind of tunneling, you're creating multiple paths, right? And certainly the architecture over time is to measure those paths and choose the best one, right? And sometimes the tunnels can find you a better path than just over the internet, sometimes not.
So to piggyback off of that, we've run into this with clients in the past with other SASE services that they're still using legacy protocols, so to speak. SMB being the #1 culprit. And we've ended up having a whole bunch of their clients end up having to go back to on-premises VPN because you had that latency to go through, the POPs or whatnot, and SMB just falls apart. Especially with large files or ancient enterprise applications that are still using file shares, et cetera. Is Cisco looking at anything to do any sort of optimization for SMB and that type of thing to help with the legacy apps until we get everybody to that utopia in the cloud? Because not everybody's fully on board with that.
Sure. Well, that's a good lead into one of my cool simplifications. We expect that users for an existing Meraki user, you talked about SMB, a Meraki customer that has their VPN, they have their MX, and they're using it, and now they subscribe to Secure Connect, and they have this additional functionality in the Umbrella Cloud. We imagine that they will start using the Umbrella Cloud for some VPN connections, maybe not all, right? And then migrate it over time, which is why we have this button right here. So Faye didn't go through it, but yep.
No,
Okay, you were pointed at it.
I pointed at it because, yeah, that's a lot of times when this stuff comes out, it's that how I already have this. How do I? And that's most product launches are like, well, this is for new environments, and we'll get the migration coming. So that's actually surprising. Like,
I'm happy to surprise and delight you.
I'm surprised too, which is.
So if you don't have an identity provider, we will create one effectively using Meraki Cloud Auth. If you have one, you can use your sample. But if you're an existing Meraki VPN customer, you hit link and all your users are there, right? So now I can use an on-premises VPN concentrator and MX as well as as Umbrella. And then over time, you decide which one you want, right? So that's with respect to users. There's another cool integration that we have. When we go through this checklist of onboarding, we even go and look at your MX that are configured as VPN concentrators and say, oh, you have an internet-facing firewall function there. policy configured on that MX. Would you like to sync it into the cloud delivered firewall so that your VPN connections that come into the cloud get the same type of firewall functionality from the cloud without having to trombone through some MX somewhere, right? So we synchronize that over. Another cool integration. So Faye showed you where we have defined a private application for ZTNA, proxy access. Well, that's all fine and dandy. You have to type in the IP address, and then you have to write down the IP address in your spreadsheet or on a piece of paper and remember, oh my gosh, what if, what is this IP address for, et cetera. The Meraki customers live in their Meraki dashboard in the clients page, right? And the clients are effectively the host, the applications that you want. So one of those clients somewhere is actually a server, and you want to host that in, expose that as a private application via ZTNA. So this is actually the new magnetized dashboard that was launched this week.
Yeah, there's no Make-A-Wish button on there.
Yeah, it's changed to feedback or something, but
It's just cut off in the side.
but you'll see there's the normal policy, network ping, usage, the applications. You see that this, I've named this server custom app 01. It's plugged into my Catalyst, right? So I know that's where my app is running. It's on this IP address. And what I have here, I've already defined it, but when I click this button, I get the URL, the IP address, all of it's pre-filled, and I hit save, and then you go back over to Umbrella, and you see you have the application defined, right? So it's really this is what, when I talk about deep integrations, this is why we're building it in the Meraki dashboard. It's the SASE solution that lets you see all the way from the client to the LAN, to the WAN, into the cloud as one system.
So is this, I don't know if this is the same product or not. I was part of an early trial. I almost want to say it was pre-COVID, that was built around the Umbrella roaming client being the SASE gateway into Umbrella. And then you could do tunnels back to on-prem, either Meraki or ASA. I don't know if that support's still there. ASA is kind of the dinosaur now. Plus you're, as a SASE broker to the internet and other cloud applications. Is this the evolution of that, or is that still a thing that's happening?
That is still a thing that's happening. That was based on the Umbrella roaming client, right?
Okay. So this is more a Meraki AnyConnect version of that?
Yes.
Oh,